One of the things that world building is complicated. I am not a good world builder. I really like to write and I like to keep my surroundings very small.
Mm,
I'm writing an entire story that takes place on a ship. That is a very
right.
small world. And it's an awesome thing and I'm gonna have a blast doing it. But I purposely picked that because the story is complicated, but it's
Mm,
complicated because we're dealing with humans. And I am
yeah.
a bad world builder because I like what I like to watch in anime. This is why I'm a horrible world builder. Is just animes that the world just keeps going, and there's never an ending world. One Piece is a good example of that. And so, how do
Yeah.
you say, okay, I have this world and it's vast and it's rich, which is what Shadow's daughter is in a lot of ways. But how do you also say, hey, there's a boundary here? Because that's where I think writers get tricky. And I'm sure you've
Mm,
read some comics where it's just like, how far can this world go? And now we're out of bounds, clearly.
yeah. Yeah. That's a constant struggle. As I said, most of what I write is this, episodes. The good thing from my stuff is, again, most of it I've written as a novel first, and a novel has an end. Although usually they're cliffhangers, that whole thing. But at least I can see, all right, I've got a story arc I can get to within there, and I know there are, these 30 things that will be revealed as they go through, which will hint at bigger things, but I don't have to explore those yet. But they're open later on if I decide I want to. Um, yeah, it is an interesting one, that's for sure. I'd like to be able to do what you're doing. I'd like to be able to just narrow down and just focus. I've tried many times,
See, I
you
can't
know.
do what you do. We should just trade.
Yeah,
No, we should just trade. I'll
yeah,
build your
that's it.
world. You build mine. I'll do the dialogue, and then you'll do. It'll be great. It'll
Yeah,
just be perfect. And we said, I'll build you a narrow world. You'll build me a vast world, and then be like, here you go, man, and we're done. And it's perfect. It's just
that's
perfect
the way.
because
That's it.
I
Yeah,
can't write in a big world, and I don't want to. Like even
yeah,
even in like the story I'm writing, and it's in rough draft form. There's legitimately like 30 characters at the
yeah,
most, and
yeah,
a bunch of them are like a good 20 of them are supporting characters that have no speaking lines, and that
yeah.
was all purposeful because the story is complicated. But I wanted a limitation because I don't want to go too far. So I don't know how you create a vast, rich world. I enjoy that. Don't get me wrong. I'm just bad at writing that. But I
Well,
digress.
so the way I get around it most of the time is I have the big world, but the actual stories I write are usually limited to a few characters, and the story is narrow-ish, but they just take place in it because it is exhausting trying to writing something with 50 characters or legacy things over generations and everything. That stuff is just a nightmare, and trying to keep track of it. Wait until one of the books I'm writing is I'm up to book 4. Man, it gets confusing trying to remember who's done what to who and who betrayed who and where so and so is, and the spreadsheets with all of the details so you don't lose track of who's done what. That's the problem. But yeah, but I try and narrow it down just by and the other thing is first person perspective. And even with comics, like with Shadow's daughter, I try and write everything through her perspective or as much as possible to help with me kind of focusing it. Otherwise it'll just be a mess.